it's taught me that God isn't always going to show up when we want him to, but he ultimately will show up. Yeah. He is going to come through. And what makes it difficult is because it wasn't on my timeline.
Welcome to the Getting Better podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching whatever you're doing. Why? Because you're choosing to get better. And I think that's just a goal, man. To day by day, whatever you're doing, choosing to get better. Engage. I love getting better with you, man. How are you?
Man, I enjoy it too. And I you know what? I don't just enjoy it. I need it. I need to get better, man. I can tell you a lot of different areas in my life I need to get better.
Yeah, same, man.
However, I'm excited to get better today because we got a really special guest today.
Special
that I'm
guest.
excited to hear about.
A friend of mine I've known for a long time, go way back. Mr. Dylan Clawson, how are you?
It's good to be here. It's good to be here, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, you look good. You're strong, handsome, and all that stuff.
You hype me up too much.
What's interesting, I was thinking about this. I almost said it before we started, but I want to say it for the podcast. Yeah. Our wives are all really good friends. Still currently really good friends, but have been for a long time. Yeah. And now we're sitting here talking about.
Oh, it's so cool.
Ain't that wild?
It is. Like
that's
really wild.
Our wives, I mean, like kindergarten, they're like best friends since kindergarten. Yeah. And I was kind of a part of that group too, but
yeah. Have you seen videos of them playing basketball in like elementary school?
Yeah, it's hilarious, dude.
It's top tier comedy.
Those are the best videos. Yeah, I've seen a couple.
Michaela's got the sweet bowl cut, and
hey, you're not supposed to roast her on the internet, dude.
I have to.
If we have pictures, we could post them.
Or clips. Can we play clips?
We'll see. Yeah, we added clips of their basketball. No, that's great. Thanks so much for joining, man. Me and you go way back. You've obviously known Gage for a few years now too, but you're actually with me when I got my first ever ticket.
I forgot all about that.
I did not forget about that because I was scared to death.
Yes.
You were not scared, obviously. We got pulled over actually going to church on Wednesday night. So we're after practice.
I feel like that's a good time to get pulled over.
That was when Gunner used to drag me to church against my will. It felt like almost like I remember him just hounding me, come to church with me, dude. Come to church with me, dude. I'm finally just like, all right, I'll come.
Quit asking me. I'll go if you quit asking me.
I really think I was more like I was just a vehicle and people needed somewhere to go.
That was true. They always had food in the kitchen back there, and I'd be making sandwiches and stuff.
That was good stuff too. Was I annoying in high school with stuff?
You know,
you can be honest here.
Very interestingly, I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking back about how annoying you were in high school.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I was, because it was like, I'm in a time in my life where I could care less about the Lord. I could care less about Jesus. We're trying to like listen to rap music while we're playing, while we're practicing, while we're shooting around. And Gunner's like trying to turn on Lecrae and all these like Christian hip hop rappers. And we're just like, dude, would you turn this trash off? Like, I hate this. And, like, every time, I've got a dirty mouth. Every time I cuss, Gunner's like, Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you.
Which may have been over the top. I will admit, that may have been over the top.
But I was thinking about that, and it was really cool because I was like, Gunner never wavered from that, ever, in high school. And that,
I wasn't perfect. It was just,
I'm not saying you were, but it hit. I don't know what I was thinking about. I might have been talking to Michaela or Skylar or something about this, and I was like, surrounded by, we was all a bunch of heathens. Like we was heathens.
I enjoyed you guys. I
know. We had a lot of fun, but nobody else was concerned with Jesus like you were, and you didn't let I was telling them how it was really cool how you didn't let the environment change who you were, and that stuck with me. And all those times where you're hey, come to church with me, come to church with me, come to church with me. And I don't know what it was that was making me think about that, but I was just like, that's so inspiring, like the unashamedness. Because in high school, you really care what people think.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
100%.
Yeah, I still probably do more than I
I would have been embarrassed to be talking about Jesus in high school. Like I wasn't
even the music.
Yeah, even the music, yeah. And man, Gunner didn't waver. It made an impact on me. That was the point of the conversation I was having, was like, years later I see, maybe I didn't feel it then, but it did have an impact, like a positive impact. And I thought, it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Really cool. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That's what we're going to talk about tonight.
I need to think of something good to say about Gunner real quick.
No more. And I had some really good people in my life that were in my environment that helped me too. So credit to them as well. But we had some good times, man.
We did,
and it was, you know, I probably don't think back on those as much as I wish I did.
I know.
But even like
basketball, we had a lot.
I won't go into all the stories and people, but because we don't have time for that.
Right.
But we're here to talk about you, dude. One thing I love about you, man, is your journey. I think it's
an interesting one.
It's an interesting one, but like no one has the same story,
right?
Which is what's beautiful about all the long form content coming out. People, and we listen to some of the similar stuff, and people share their stories and things. And it's just cool because God makes himself known to different people in different ways. Yeah. Everyone's, you know, it's not, you know, not everyone's salvation story or knowing God is the same way. And I think that's what's beautiful is God can work many different ways. But as far as your faith journey, you know, I don't know exactly. I mean, I couldn't date it exactly, but I can see the growth in you. Yeah. And that's one reason why I want to talk to you, because one, I'm proud of you as a friend. Yeah. And just see the conversation we had before, how passionate you are about stuff. Yeah. But take us back a little ways. Maybe you want to share where you were. Maybe something made you desperate for God. I don't know all the details, but I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah. So, forewarning on this, becoming, I guess I would say, obsessed with Jesus has made me an emotional person. So if I start crying,
look at there.
Nobody be making fun of me if you see me crying on here, dude. I'm not that mean guy that I'm all tatted up and look maybe mean sometimes.
I love that.
I'm a lamb, dude. Hey, I'm a lamb.
I love that.
Jesus will change you.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's awesome.
Because I remember I was a very cold-hearted,
tough,
mean, tough. Even though I was really just a broken, scared kid, I put on that persona, for a long time, and. Man, Jesus will pry that out of you, man. I start crying at the drop of a hat now. I always tell people I'm way too nostalgic for my own good. I can just look back at an old picture, man. You see me tearing up. But anyways, forewarning, I'll probably start crying. I got some tissues in my pocket here.
Be prepared.
I like that. That's great.
But, I have a very interesting faith journey, I would call it, because, I'll get into some of the details. But, a lot of times there's a typical, I wouldn't say typical, but, I'm going to get into my suicide attempt that I had. And, a lot of times you hear people sharing a story like that. It's like, man, I was about to end it all. And then right then and there, something saved me. Jesus called me and I gave my life to the Lord, somewhere in that immediate time frame. And with me, it's like, I didn't. That's not my journey at all. It's like, I was in that horrible spot and I pulled myself out of it. Thinking me, myself, without, involving Jesus, I guess I would say, and fell back into that dark place again. And it wasn't until, some very difficult and trying times that it's like, hey, you can't do this on your own anymore. It's time to find something that's going to feel it, that's going to last. Something that, all this stuff that you're doing, it might feel like it's working right now, but it's not going to last. And that's when I come to find Jesus. So I'm just going to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I want to preface one thing. I don't know if anybody in my family is going to watch this. I have to share, some details of my story because I think it matters. Like, I don't want to gloss over it and make it seem like, any other story, like, I just had a rough childhood and I tried to kill myself. And, I want people to understand, because I feel like there might be some people that's dealing with some similar circumstances. And I don't want to, it's difficult for me because I have to talk about my mom. And it's going to come across like I'm bashing her. And at times in my life I did. But the beautiful thing about it is, before she passed away, me and her really reconnected, and it was beautiful. And it's hard to talk about it now, because used to I didn't care to talk about it because I didn't have a good relationship with her. But now, it rekindled and it reignited, and it was awesome that we was able to do that. So it's difficult. It's like I feel bad almost, but I'm not bashing my mom. It's just part of my story. It's what it is.
And preface any way you need to.
Yeah. I don't want people to think that, like, if I got family watching this or something, like, oh, here he goes. He's got to bash his mom, and she's not here to defend her. So, I'm not bashing my mom. When I get through the whole story, you'll understand. But at the beginning, it's going to be a little nasty, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
But, I grew up in a home. I know, a lot of my family. I've got a lot of, gifted spiritual family that, I grew up around, that I was around church. I was around people that loved the Lord, preachers, singers. My mom was an amazing singer. All her sisters are amazing singers. My uncles can sing. They can preach. My mama. So I was around it, but my family wasn't, we wasn't like a church going, like we're not going to church every Sunday, but I grew up around it. But when my mom and dad divorced, I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And that's what really started the downhill slide, I guess I would say. Cause like weirdly as a kid, I had a weird fear of like my parents getting a divorce. I don't even know where that came from. And so when my parents got a divorce is where it kind of, I guess I was turned off to, everybody just wants to tell you everything's going to be okay and this and that. And it's like, man, I don't want to hear that, So my mom unfortunately fell into some addiction with alcohol, and I'm battling with, I'm living with my mom for a week. I'm living with my dad for a week. The weeks I'm with my mom, they're very difficult. She's drinking heavily. She's going through some tough stuff. And, she's leaning on that like addicts do. We all have those vices too. Just because it isn't alcohol doesn't mean my vice is any better than hers. But, we went through some very difficult times. I ended up moving in with my dad. My mom was in an abusive relationship, and I seen that up close. And, there was a time where I had to run to my dad's house in the middle of the night, and cops are involved and all this nasty stuff that, I'm probably 10 or 11 years old. You shouldn't be dealing with that at the time, but, I was, and that was the situation I was in. So, I move in with my dad, and it starts just like a downhill trend. My mom gets worse. Me moving out, it really affects her. It breaks my mom's heart, like she's losing a son almost.
How old were you when you had to move out?
I was probably, I'm thinking 11, 6th grade, maybe
okay.
6th or 7th grade is when I decided, like, hey, Mom, I can't be around this anymore. Like, if you'll clean this up, I'll stay. But if you don't, I'm going to just go live with Dad. And, she just couldn't stop at the time, and she couldn't change the situation. So over the years, man, my mom's relationship got very nasty. That's just really the only way to put it. She would get drunk, and, bad stuff would happen. My brothers would still live with my mom. They were younger at the time, so they were still with my mom for a week, and then they'd be with my dad for a week. And so there's times where I'm like, I grow up, as the time goes on and I start driving and stuff. All this is just, every week it's something very difficult. Like my brothers are calling me up 1 a.m. Hey, can you come pick me up? Can you come pick me up? They're fighting, or mom's drunk, or this and that. And I'm just like, so I'm 16, 17 years old. I'm driving down to my mom's house in the middle of the night. I got to get up and go to school the next day. And a lot of that hurt that my mom was going through, she pinned it on me. So, she'd blame me for a lot of things. She would blame me for the way that she was, you caused this. This is your fault. And it just turned into just habitual every single week. Me and my mom were on the phone getting in big fights. She's blaming me for everything. And this goes on from the time I'm 13 years old to the time I'm 21, 22 years old, 23 years old. 20, maybe even later than that. It all just kind of runs together now. And so I just learned to live with it. I'm like, this is just my situation. I'm doing everything I can because I love my mom.
Right.
I love her and I want to help her, and I'm doing everything I can to help her. There's, we're trying to get her into rehabs. We're trying to do this. And it's like every time it feels like it's going good, something happens and she slips back, and, it comes to a point where you can, one person can only take so much of feeling like they're responsible for, I feel like, my mom's telling me this is all my fault, and my brothers have, we're in a bad situation. And so I start feeling guilt for like, man, maybe if I would have just stayed around and stayed, living with my mom, this wouldn't be as bad as it is. And that guilt and that shame piles up. And, I've got my mom telling me all this, and she had multiple suicide attempts where I'm down there in the middle of the night talking her off the edge, like, Mom, don't do this, There was a time where she tried to kill herself in front of my little brothers even, just horrible, horrible situation. And it just, and I'm not involved. I don't have Jesus in my life. I'm a Christian,
At this point,
yeah. I think I have Jesus, but I really don't. And, I'm using my own vices during this time. I'm working as much as I can. Maybe money can fix my problems. Maybe if I make enough money, I can help my mom. If I can make enough money, I can help my brothers. I can take care of them. They won't need to be down at my mom's. They can just move in with me. And there was times where my brothers did live with me. I look at my brothers as my kids almost, because I feel like from the time I'm 16 years old, I've been doing everything I can to take care of them. So they're kind of like my sons as much as they are my brothers. So I'm doing everything I can. I'm trying to fill these voids with working as much as I can. I'm drinking, I'm partying, I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing. And it all just leads up. At this time, I'm not a person I'm not reaching out for help. I'm bottling all this up like, hey, I'm a man. I can do this. I can take this. This is my responsibility as the oldest brother. Excuse me. So I'm not reaching out, but I'm desperate. I'm begging for like somebody to see what I'm going through, because it seems like there's nobody there to help during these times. You feel alone and you feel on your own. And I know there's a stigma around, men reaching out for help to talk about their feelings or to talk about the things they're going through. And I hate that, because it's looked at as like weak. Like I'm a weak person if I want to get help, if I want to talk to somebody. And so it all just piles up to one night where I get done with a big fight with my mom. We get off the phone, and she's let me have it for an hour or two, and I'm always trying to just talk to her and help her and just be there for her. But no, there's like when she's drunk, you can't I don't know if you deal with drunk people, there's nothing you can say that's going to make a difference at that time. And, I get off the phone with her, and Michaela's working night shift at the time at the hospital. She's a nurse. She's been with me we started dating when we were 15, so she's seen all this up close, but I've put on a good cover. Like, I'm handling this well, so she thinks. And, it just led up. I remember so vividly, we're in my first home that I just bought after I got back from working in Puerto Rico. I went down there after a hurricane and worked for 4 or 5 months, whatever it was, and I bought a house, and I'm doing everything I can to feel like my life is together. And it leads up to where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I've done everything I can to help my mom, to help my brothers, to provide, to try to save this situation. But I don't feel like there's anybody there to help me. Like I'm carrying a load that I just can't carry anymore. And so I text Michaela that I know she's on night shift and she can't have her phone while she's working. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. So I text Michaela, and I'm just like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I love you, and I'm sorry, and I've done the best I could. And so I sat down on the edge of my bed, and, I put the gun in my head, and I'm like, I'm checking out. I'm done. This is the end. I can say I've done the best that I can. And by the providence of God, man, she texts back within maybe 5 minutes. I'm sitting there on the edge of my bed just contemplating this. It's like I've already done it in my mind, but I haven't actually done it yet. And I hear my phone ding, and I'm like, this is probably midnight, 1 a.m. And she texts back, and she starts blowing my phone up. It's like she could read what the message looked like, I guess. And, we talked about it later. She's seen the signs. She comes home from work, and I'm laying in a dark room like, what are you doing?
She could tell you were dealing with something.
She could tell that it was starting to take a toll on me. She knows what I'm dealing with, but I think she's starting to notice that, like, hey, he's not taking this as well as he used to. And so she starts blowing my phone up, text after text, calling me, and I'm just like, man, I can't do this now. Like, I've got to, it's just like something came over me, like I don't know what it is. It was just God, man.
I think a lot of the enemy always wants us to believe that no one cares about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you felt that in that moment.
Yeah, it was.
It sounds like when Michaela sent those messages, it almost like rebirthed that feeling that, like, I'm not alone.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like, okay, maybe I can see, I haven't even done this yet, and I can see the reaction from her almost. And it's just like, I can't imagine what it would be like if I actually did it. Because if there's anybody who's had my back, 100% it's her. From, we started dating 15 years old. And, she's had every reason to be like, hey, this situation's too much for me. And she never did. She never wavered. She never looked at me differently because of my situation was not typical, And so she kept calling my phone, and I finally pick up. And I'm acting like nothing. So I'm just like, I just wanted to let you know I love you. And she's like, Dylan, I'm getting ready to leave work. I'm on my way home right now. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And, she knew what was leading up. So I remember I'd finally just admit to her, I'm like, yeah. And I remember I'm sitting in my shower and I'm in the floor crying in my shower like, man, I just can't do it no more. I just can't take this beating anymore. And, after that I did what I do best, and I woke up the next morning and went to work like nothing ever happened. We didn't talk about it. We didn't discuss it the next day. She stayed at work. I told her, I'm good. I'm going to bed, I promise. And that's what I did. I just went to bed, and I went to work the next day and acted like nothing happened.
During this time, how different were your schedules?
She's working night shift, so she's leaving to go to work at 7, and I'm getting home at 6:30 or 7. So we're not seeing each other a whole lot during this time.
Yeah.
I'm getting home from work. She's leaving for work. She's getting home in the morning. I've done left for work.
And I think I don't want to compare our situation because they're not the same. But anytime feel like I'm getting in a dark place, things are growing when I'm alone.
Right.
And it's probably didn't help with it, but it's so awesome that she was there for you and could see it. And
yeah, it was. I say it's like it was like an angel. She was like an angel in my life, And I think you're right. I think that loneliness of just like getting in the habit of just work and come home and go to sleep, and we're not seeing each other. And, I'm kind of distancing myself from everybody, kind of getting that like lone wolf or whatever you want to call it, like, because I'm getting into, and there was times where she would come home and, like I said, I'm laying on the couch in the dark with the TV off. Yeah. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I used to always say, I just got a busting headache, man. My head is killing me. I just wanted to lay here in the dark. The TV was bothering my, I would come up with the craziest stuff to hide the fact that, like, I just want to lay here in the dark, man, because I don't even want to be here anymore. But this is the best I can do. And, I'd like to say, man, I found Jesus and my life just became beautiful. And that was November 2019. So this year will be 6 years. So that was when I was 22, 23 years old. And, looking back, the beautiful thing about that, 2 weeks after, that night is when I went to my church for the first time. I went to go watch my brother, Skylar. I think Skylar and Caden. I can't remember if it was both of them. It was for sure Skylar. Might have been Caden too. They were getting baptized.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I went to go watch them get baptized, and I told Michaela after I, went for that first service, I was like, hey, I'm going to start going to church here. I really, I grew up kind of with that vibe of, the more Pentecostal type church. And I was like, I really like this. I think I'm going to start coming here. You don't have to come with me. It's okay. I know you didn't grow up in that kind of church. But
she would do anything for you.
Right.
In that moment, especially.
Absolutely. And she's like, okay, I'll come too. Because she had been to the church I grew up in. And she was like, I really like this. And, we ended up, as we started going there, we both started growing a lot. So we're like, maybe this is the place for us.
That's awesome.
And so there was a lot of growth in our walk during this time. But it's like I'm still in a season where I won't fully commit. It's like I've got 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in the kingdom.
Yeah.
That surrender thing, right?
Yeah, that surrender. That's hard, man, because it's like I can't give up some stuff just yet. You know what I mean? And I used to tell myself just silly stuff all the time, like, when I have kids, I'll really straighten up. Or when I get this old, I'll be out of my party phase, or I'll be out of, whatever I'm into. But right now, I want to enjoy life. We're made to believe that, when you give your life to Jesus, like, life gets boring all of a sudden. Like, you can't have
that's
fun
the stigma.
anymore.
You're right.
That's the stigma. It's like I got to give up all the stuff I enjoy doing. And, it's like when you give your heart to Jesus, those things that you enjoy, you won't enjoy them anymore. It's like what we can't comprehend. But
right. It's life is. I have a blast.
I do too. But I have more
desires
fun.
change.
I have more fun now than I've ever had.
Yeah.
I look back at thinking about partying or drinking right now. I'm like, dude, I'm in bed by like 9. There ain't no way. But like that don't even sound fun to me anymore either.
Right.
I'm like, this is fun to me. Sitting around and talking, having good conversation, talking about Jesus. This is a blast. And so we start going here and we start growing. But like I said, I haven't fully surrendered. And there was a time, man, this is just, I don't know if it's been a full 2 years yet, 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I'm not good with dates. I can barely remember my wife's birthday. But I don't know. Have you guys ever had anybody in your life that's like, maybe like the Lord speaks to them like through dreams or stuff like that? Have you guys ever had anybody that's like a mama or your mom maybe? It's like the Lord gives them very visual dreams. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that.
I think maybe here and there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in my family, my mama for one, and my mom was one of them who it seemed like the Lord's letting you know your business through some dreams, It's like they're like letting you know what's going on. It's like they're asking you about like, how you know that? And it's like, well, Lord's we're talking, And so I know there's probably some people that don't believe that stuff like that can happen. But I'm in a season where I'm growing, I'm getting involved with the church, and I'm thinking that, hey, I'm saved, I'm good. I'm taking church serious now. I'm good.
Which is a step. I want to acknowledge that's a great step.
That's it's a step. But the Lord gave me a very descriptive, very, very ugly dream, I would call it, where he was showing me that I wasn't good. And, the details of it, you know what, I don't even care to share it. Some people might think it's silly. Some people might, if they have similar interactions with God, whatever you want to call it, it could have just been I watched a movie and it opened my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I had a dream where I was standing at the gates of heaven. I was right there. And it's like, you ever watched a movie where it's like somebody speaking, but you can't see them? It's like they're talking over,
yeah, for sure.
And, I'm standing there and it's like this beautiful scene of like just clouds and big, huge gates. And it's so clear and so vivid. And I'm standing there and all of a sudden I hear a voice start speaking and it says, "Depart from me, for I never knew you." And I fall instantly, just fall. And I fall into where none of us want to fall, and it's very vivid. It's very clear what that looks like. And, there's burnt figures and there's the gnashing of teeth and the, figures are gnawing on me and they're surrounding me and it was horrible. And man, that was like a Saturday night. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, man, what was that? Like, is this real? Is God giving me an opportunity right now? He's opening my eyes like, hey, you think you're good. You think because you're doing church now, because you're cutting these things out of your life that, you know, you think that prayer you prayed when you were 16 years old, but you didn't give up anything. You think you're good, but you're really not. You're in a, I think it's a position that a lot of people are in. You know, I never want to question anybody's, you know, whether they're saved or not. But I think maybe it's the church's fault to some extent of like, we have people fooled that it's like, hey man, you can come up here and just repeat after me. And then we go back into the world and we live any way that we want. You can just continue living the way you're living. As long as you say this prayer that I repeat, you know, repeat after me type deal. But there's no real change in the heart. And that's what I was lacking, was like, yeah, I might have got down and said a prayer, but was there a legit change in my heart? Did I start feeling broken when I sinned? Was I convicted when I sinned? And I wasn't. It's like, you know, I just picked up right where I left off, you know, doing the same things I was doing. Didn't feel bad for them. And, you know, maybe it was God giving me an opportunity like, hey, you know, you're not good. And I hope this gets your attention. And it did. Because the next Sunday morning, I was itching at my seat for them to do an altar call because I was running to that thing like, hey, man.
Yeah.
And that's what started the journey of where I'm at right now. You know, I legit, I turned over, I fully surrendered at that moment and was like,
that's awesome, man.
God, I don't want to be wherever it was I was at. It was a fear that came over me, and an ultimate, you know, put me in a place of what you said earlier, ultimate surrender. And from ever since that moment, man, it's been different. It's not that life got easy all of a sudden and everything got perfect from that point on, because I was still facing a lot of the same things that I was talking about with my mom. You know, those times didn't end. And, you know, I think my mom saw a change in me. I started reacting differently to, you know, I wouldn't act out in anger towards her. You know, I'm being more gentle. I'm learning how to forgive more. And, you know, ultimately that leads her to coming to church with us. She gets back into church. She gets into recovery. She gets clean. And, you know, she's got like a 2-year stretch before she ultimately passed away where she's doing really good and our relationship rekindles. And, you know, I've forgiven her for what we've been through. And,
that's awesome,
you know,
man.
There's no ill will towards her anymore. I don't feel that hatred towards her. And yeah, man, that's really the journey that led me to where I'm at now. And it's just, it hasn't stopped rolling.
I got a
There's
lot.
so much. I was about to say, there's so many good things. First of all, and you can, let me just say this real quick, because not only does God save, man, but God restores things too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he does. He restores, whether it's relationships or whatever it is. That's who he is.
Yeah, and a couple things you said. How much you said you've forgiven her, which I'm so proud, man, for you for that, because I'm not in your situation, so I can't just say I know how hard that is, because I don't know how hard that is, but I'm assuming it had to be.
Yeah, it was extremely difficult. But one thing I learned through, you know, getting in my word and actually reading, you know, the Bible, you know, what I came to realize is forgiveness isn't for that person.
Yeah.
It's not for my mom. She doesn't, you know, it might help her in her journey to hear me say that I forgive you, but it's for the person that's saying it. It's for me to let go of all that hatred, because I think that's why Jesus makes it so clear, you know, 77 times, you know, how many times do I forgive?
70 times 7.
70 times, you know, it's like he sees the deep damage that carrying unforgiveness has. Yeah. And it does. That's what, I mean, it just rots you from the inside out, just carrying all that anger and hatred around all the time. So when I was able to finally just be like, hey, Mom, we're good. Let's just, you know, I've got kids now. Like, I want you involved in their life. I can't be mad at you. I can't be dreading every time you want to come over. I don't want them to not know you. So let's start this thing. Let's restart. whatever happened, happened. And God used that in beautiful ways in my life. And, it's so cliche to say, I'm thankful for everything that I've been through, but I truly am. I really am, because it shaped me into who I am. And, maybe, there was a million prayers of, God, please save me from this situation.
Yeah.
Can you help me? Can you do anything? Can you heal my mom? Can you free her from this addiction? And it seemed like my prayers weren't getting past the ceiling. For years I prayed the same prayer, man, help my mom get over this addiction. And, maybe, obviously he didn't just zap down and free her from that, but that doesn't mean he can't use whatever it is that you're going through for good.
Yeah.
Like, there is good that can come out of any horrible situation. He's not always going to save you from everything. He didn't save Daniel from the lion's den. He saved him in the lion's den. Yeah. He didn't save Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the fire. He saved them in the fire. So it's like he was with me during those moments. And looking back on it now, I can see all the times where, like, man, God had his hand on me right there. I wasn't thinking about God at that moment, but I can see it now. And now looking back, I've got this opportunity to share this, share my story with other people that's suffering. And, maybe that's what it was for. Maybe it was, he knew I could handle it. And, he's seen what was going to come out of it. And it's like, I'm not saying God punishes people like, hey, you need to go through this so I can use you for it. But he can use anything for good. Right. No matter the situation, he can use it for good. And, that's what I've seen as I've gotten older. It's just like, I'm thankful for it. I really am.
Yeah, I think, when you have a parent that struggles with addiction, it's hard to explain, it's hard to describe for people. My biological father struggles with addiction, not alcohol, drug addiction. But, it changes the person.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's easy, and I'm sure, and you're probably going to say this exact same thing. It's easy to get to the point where it's like, you pray this stuff all the time, and then finally, like, you know what? I'm just going to quit praying it.
That's how it was, man. It's like I've given up the hope of her being healed. I give up. Like, it ain't going to happen. I'll deal with it the best I can.
And it's like you do, and you try, and it seems like it goes nowhere. But man, how you it makes you who you are. It
does.
And talking about your story and anybody's story, looking back, you can see God's sprinkled all throughout it. You can see how he's moved, how he's provided, how he's made ways when there was no ways. But in it, you can't really see that.
No.
It's hard. And so, what about this? Your view of God during those times, struggling, maybe just with your mother, and your view of God now, how has that changed? What did you think about him when you're praying and he's like, where are you at? What are you doing? You know what I mean? How has that view changed?
Yeah, it's changed in a way like during those times I'm praying all these prayers, like, I think I had a false view of who God was. Like, hey, people are just telling me, like, hey, man, just if you get Jesus involved, everything's going to be perfect and it'll all be fine. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, I'll do whatever. I want out of this heck hole that I'm in. And here I am crying out, like, being sincere. Like, I feel like I'm pouring my heart out to God. Like, hey, I've seen you do it for other people. I've seen other people's moms get healed. Like, can I get a piece of, like, can I get some of that? I used to always have this saying, and it'd drive Michaela and Skylar crazy when I'd be talking about it. It's like, I see all these other people, they've got whatever difficulties they're going through, but it's like, there's always a good ending, it seemed. Like, everything that I look at, that's the way I viewed it. It's like, everybody's boat comes. Like, I feel like I'm stranded on this island all alone, starving to death, and somebody always gets a rescue boat. And I felt like, because this was such a long journey. It wasn't a few years. This is from when I'm 10 to when I'm 25. I'm going through this. And it's like, you really lose hope when something's that long. And I'm like, when's my boat coming? When is, because I think I had this thought in the back of my head that's like, she's going to get right one day. Like, she's going to be healed. Like, I had a belief in the back of my head. Even when I was not praying like I should have been, when I wasn't believing like I should have been, like, deep down, I'm like, something's going to break eventually, and it never did.
Yeah.
I mean, she had a few good years before she passed away, but she ultimately passed away because of falling back into addiction, and that ended up killing her. And now, gosh, I feel like I started rambling. I don't even remember what you were asking.
I think you're hitting all over the mark, man. How even in those times where it seems like, you feel like he's not there, that he is there. And I don't know. It's hard to open up about stuff like that, but sometimes just speaking from personal, experience, sometimes I get to the point where I don't even know if I don't know if I think my dad or is even going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to, I don't even think about that. It's kind of like I've just moved past that. So did you have times like that where you just kind of, I don't know.
Because there was times where me and my mom went very long stretches without even speaking.
Yeah.
Like I got to the point where I'm like, I'm just going to cut her out of my life. Like I've done all I can do. I can walk away knowing I've gave it my best, and this has taken a toll on my life. I've seen where it's led me. And this is after I get into church and after my suicide attempt, where I'm just like, I think it's better if I just cut ties at this point. Like, she hasn't been a motherly figure for a long time to me anyways. So I don't feel like, so I'm like, we probably, there were stretches for maybe a year and a half where we didn't speak at all. There was times where I blocked her phone number so I didn't have to hear her blowing up my phone. So there was definitely times where I'm just like, this ain't happening. I'm moving on with my life. I've got to do what's best for me. I've got a wife now. I've got kids now. Like, I can't stay in this cycle forever. Something's got to give. So I definitely, there was points in the journey where I just completely gave up hope.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it was ever going to change, for sure.
Real quick, not to dominate the question, but I mean, like, how's that grown you? You know what I mean? Going through all that, all the struggle, and now to see where you're at just as a little reflection, how's that grown you a little bit?
Man, learning patience has been the biggest piece of this, because it's taught me that God isn't always going to show up when we want him to, but he ultimately will show up. Yeah. He is going to come through. And what makes it difficult is because it wasn't on my timeline. It wasn't when I wanted it to happen. He ultimately did. I seen my mom get healed. I seen what it looked like for my mom to be freed from addiction. There was a time, a year, 2 years before she passed away, where my prayers were answered. Jesus did come through. He did change I got to see my mother that I knew from 5 to 10 years old. I got to see that again. I got to have that relationship again. But it wasn't, during those difficult times, it's not on the timeline that I want, because I wanted it. We want it right then and now. Absolutely. And if we don't get it, then we throw our hands up like, all right, whatever, God, If you don't give it to me when I want it, then I don't, Yeah. And that's how we are. That's just how we are as humans. It's we live in a time where we can, everything's at our fingertips. I think we're just used to getting what we want. But I would say, yeah, he will show up. He will show up. And it might not look like what you want it to look like, but he will show up.
That's good.
Yeah, man. Talking about patience, your story, you said you're looking back, you can kind of see where God was in it at different moments. And it reminds me of the story of Joseph, the coat of many colors. He had a dream, dreamer boy. Yeah. And all of his brothers are jealous, telling him about his dream that he had of all them bowing down to him. And, of course, they didn't like him because nobody would. He had no self-awareness, I guess, Joseph. Yeah. And so, then they end up, throwing him in a pit and then selling him into slavery and all that stuff. And he goes through that, and then he gets it, and he's a slave, and he works, and then he's at Potiphar's house. And then he gets wrongly accused of stuff, gets thrown into prison, and then he eventually works his way out of there. Then eventually he's second command all of Egypt. Yeah. And through all the process of all the scripture, go back and read it if you're listening, because it's so good. It is. Even when he got thrown into prison, it said, and the Lord was with Joseph.
Amen.
And I could cry because it's just like, man, like it's easy for us to look back at situations now in life, but like even in current situations, like he's with us, and he was with you, and it makes you shout, cry, and all that stuff at the same time, dude, because like if he's faithful, and this is not my timing, Joseph probably thought he was going to have his brothers bow down to him like next week, and literally it was years later when he's in Egypt, and he gets to the end of that process. And he says, what you thought was going to harm me was actually for the good of many, saving of many lives.
Right.
And it's like what the enemy thought was going to harm you, Dylan, was for the good man.
Yeah.
And it's going to change people's lives.
It is.
Whether they hear this here, or it's just the impact you have in, helping with students, or if it's the impact that you have doing whatever, just people getting to know you.
Yeah.
It's going to be for the good. And I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. I'm excited, and man, it's just it's good stuff.
It is. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
And we're being on this side of stuff. God always has. There's always more challenges in life, and stuff never goes away.
Right.
There's always more stuff coming our way. There's always next steps, and I love that you're into growing. You're not just chilling. But where do you see God maybe taking you next after coming through this? Maybe just, what does God have for you on the horizon, you think? I know we can't know exactly on stuff, but like, maybe what steps do you want to take? What do you think God's putting on your heart?
Man, I don't know. I just know that I have a fire inside of me for sharing the gospel, man. Just letting people know that Jesus is there, and he loves you, and he's just waiting for you to run into his arms, man. I just want everybody to get the feeling of wholeness and the feeling that I have of that void that we're always searching for in life, that we try to fill with everything of this world. That you are never going to be satisfied until you fill it with Jesus. Yeah. I've tried everything. I tried filling it with making as much money as I could, or obsessing over when I'm working out, and I put my all into all these things, trying to find my purpose, and it left me empty. It momentarily, there was times where I'm like, man, life is good. Yeah. I'm finally like happy, but it doesn't last. And the only thing that's given me this energy of just joy and gratitude, and no matter what I'm going through, no matter what I'm facing, I feel confident. I feel like I'm just constantly walking in victory. Like I'm not fearful of the future. I'm not fearful of the outcomes anymore, because I filled that hole with Jesus. And I read his word, and I believe what it says. I do. I believe that when he, all throughout his word, he tells us all these situations that you're going to go through, that he's going to use it for good, and that he's faithful, and that he's there with you. And it's true. It's true.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. I don't know, and hearing your story, man, is just encouraging. Seeing how the God we talk about is not just talk, I mean, he's actually there.
It's real.
And even in the times where it's, seems like you're struggling, or even if you're like you're on the top, it doesn't matter, because he's still there, And so just getting to hear that through your story, man, it's been awesome. And I appreciate that from you.
Yeah.
If someone's dealing with some heavy stuff, dude, which heavy I know is relative. I don't want to minimize or maximize anybody's stuff either, if someone feels like they're dealing with a weight, maybe that you're dealing with, maybe some stuff that seems unbearable, can you give them maybe a piece of advice to someone who's been there?
I could. And this is the most important thing I've said all night.
Okay.
What changed my walk and changed my views and my outlook on life is developing a real, sincere, deep prayer life. I would encourage anybody listening, please, to take this so serious, that you have a prayer closet, a dedicated space where you go and pray. And what really changed, what that did was it helped me develop a spiritual endurance.
That's good.
That is
a
good.
spiritual endurance where when I started changing the way that I prayed, it changed my life. When I stopped going in there and giving God my wish list and my prayers, when I stop and think about all my prayers it's all about me. Hey, God, can you help me? Can you do this for me? I got this going on. And then I'm 5 minutes in and out. I'm 10 minutes in and out. It's like, I don't want to get up and pray on the edge of my bed. I'll just lay here and do it before I go to sleep. There was just like a laziness and an unpureness about it, where it was all about me and all about my wants and all about my desires. And I started changing the way that I prayed. A pastor that I listen to a lot, Philip Anthony Mitchell, is what really guided me, helped guide me into this, because he talks about it a lot. And I got to a point where now I can get in my prayer closet, and I have like a walk-in closet, so I've got like a legit prayer closet. It don't have to be a closet, just a designated space to where you go when you're in that space. It's you and God.
Give us some handles on what you're talking about, because I think, like, as far as like maybe even like very specific on what it looks like for you, or
I think when I started making my prayers about thinking about, God outlines us a prayer. We've got the Lord's Prayer, and we look at that as just a prayer, but I look at it as an outline, like, your kingdom come, your will be done. Start thinking about the Lord's will and what he wants. Start thinking about, God, open the eyes of the lost, open the eyes of the church and what we're doing. Start thinking about the kingdom. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Bring it down. He lays out an outline on how we're supposed to pray. It isn't just go in and say this prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. He's telling us that we have to go in every day to get I'm not going into my prayer closet to get a week's worth of whatever I need from God. He's telling us to come back each and every day. You need it daily. It has to be a daily thing. And then, as the prayer goes on, it's just, you can just break it down line by line, and you can give yourself an outline on how to pray. Yeah. If you don't know how to pray, he gives us an outline. It's not just, of course you can go in there and just repeat the Lord's Prayer if you want to. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. But when you get really intimate and you start thinking kingdom thoughts, that I'm not thinking about me while I'm in here. I'm thinking about the lost. I'm thinking about the church. I'm thinking about what's going on around the world. I'm thinking about, what can I do to help walk in what you've called me to do? I'm developing, God, I'm wringing out my heart in there, man. I'm wringing out my sins. I think we've got this idea of like we can hide our sins from God, like he doesn't know what we're doing. But when I started going in there and confessing them, like legit, like, God, I'm struggling with lust. God, I'm struggling with unforgiveness. God, I'm struggling with my ego, with my pride. And we're just laying this at the altar, man. Just getting in there and wringing your heart out to God. And I'm not worried about, hey, God, can you help me get a raise at work? Hey, God, can you get me a bigger house? Can you get me a nicer car? And, one thing that really helped me is, I struggled being in there. Like, it's difficult where you're just like, 5 minutes is up, Yeah. And, one thing that really helped me is like, man, turn on some worship music. Just sit in his presence. Yeah. Like one of my favorite things to do is I like instrumentals. To like, if you go on Spotify, you can just look up the instrumental version of songs. They've got legit playlists. I got a playlist saved with all kinds of songs that I enjoy, and I'll just turn on an instrumental while I'm praying, man, and just sit in. If I don't have nothing to say, I'll just thank him. Mm-hmm. Just thank him for your life and what he's done for you. Just get a glimpse back of where he brought me from. I can spend 30 minutes in my prayer closet just thinking back of everything that he's brought me from.
Right.
And you'll start to develop a spiritual endurance to where I can spend an hour and a half, 2 hours goes by, and I'm in there just wringing my heart out, man. And it has changed my life. That, taking my prayer life serious and taking my reading the Bible serious, reading the scriptures serious, is the two most important things I could share. If I could share with anybody those two things.
I think
That's great.
Psalms, one of my favorite verses, is taste and see that the Lord is good.
Yeah.
And like when you experience his presence, when you experience that time with him,
Yeah.
because we're all guilty of, the quick prayers. I know I need to do this.
Yeah.
And there's
a time for those.
There's a space
yeah.
for spiritual discipline,
Yeah.
and I get that. But like, aren't our best moments, our best prayer moments is when there's no time frame on it?
Yeah.
And I know that's in our busy lives and things. I know that's tough. And, but like, man, it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's times where, you can only pop in there for 5 or 10 minutes. I got kids, I got a job, like I get it. But it's so important, man, that we carve out time.
Yeah.
We carve out time to just be in, Lord, help me to seek and purifying my heart. Give me a hatred for sin. Help me to love the things you love and hate the things that you hate.
Yeah.
Convict me when I'm about to do something that I know I shouldn't do. Let it just an overwhelming conviction come over me to help me turn away from that. And before you know it, those things that you're struggling with, you're wringing them out in there. It's like, before you know it, you're not struggling with them anymore.
Right.
Yeah. He will help you run away from those things if you get in there and start wringing it out before him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can find joy too. The verse that you quoted from Psalms, taste and see that the Lord is good. The next part says, "Oh, the joys of those who take refuge in Him." Right, and so that's what we're doing. Prayer life, scripture life, whatever it is, that's what we're doing. We're taking refuge, and there's joy to be found in that. So those two things, man, I think that's great, encouraging, and helpful. Something I think we can all apply.
Yeah.
Are you a morning prayer or night prayer guy?
Not prayer.
Not prayer.
I'm not a morning guy. I already got to get up so early, dude.
Yeah, you get up so early.
I did go through a season
–
where I was getting up in the morning before work and reading my Bible and praying, which that means I got to get up at like 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like,
is God even awake? I don't know.
I don't know. What am I doing? I'm supposed to be sleeping right now, dude. And so I went through a state where I was pretty strict with that because I had myself convinced that I didn't have time in the evenings, busy with the kids. By the time I get the kids to bed, I'm exhausted. Time to go to bed. I skip my prayers a lot. And so I'm like, I kind of, there was like a conviction that came over me where I was like, if my only time to work out was in the morning, I'd probably get up and work out. And I was like,
he goes after what you love, doesn't he?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, if I'm not going to carve out time in the night, I'm going to get up in the morning. So I did, and I realized I hated that so much that I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm carving out some time in the evening.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, winding down here, man. I won't keep you. You got 2 twins at home.
Yeah.
By the way, if you only have one child, Dylan has no patience or sympathy for you because he did twins.
You do twins, you can do anything.
That's one of his all-time quotes. But the Getting Better podcast, we're just trying to grow, get better. And, dude, you've been so helpful today. This conversation has been awesome.
Yeah.
We should do this more, even off microphone.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man.
Yeah.
I just love sitting about talking about the Lord and what He's done. And it's awesome. I could do this anytime, man.
Awesome. But we're all trying to get better. What's one area, if you could think of in your life currently, that you're trying to grow or trying to get better in?
Man, I could probably make a list. I think for sure my number one thing is, I mentioned it earlier, but patience is the number one thing that I still struggle with. I got a quick temper, and
you're just like Peter from the Bible.
And but patience, and that's mainly for helping me be a better dad and a better husband. I think patience is one of the things that I struggle with the most, and that's one thing. I'm in my prayer closet wringing that out, man. Like, hey, help me to be more gentle, more kind. slow to anger. Help me to not be so snappy at my kids just because maybe I had a tough day at work, or, you know, whatever I'm going through. Help me to not project that onto my kids or to my wife, you know. And so, you know, that's one area that I struggle with a lot is being patient. And then also, man, there's a lot, man. I'm a work in progress. You know what I mean?
No, we all are.
Yeah, but I would say patience. I've made huge steps, I will say.
Yeah,
I was
you're getting
way
better,
worse.
dude.
I was way worse. But that's still an area, I think one of the most important things to me besides my walk is being a good husband and being a good husband. I thought I said good wife. Being a good husband and being a good dad. That's two of the most important things in the world to me.
Absolutely.
So anything that I can do to improve that aspect of my life, I'm all in on it.
Not to go back too far, but you mentioned earlier prayer at 16, and there wasn't like a whole lot of conviction after that. But like, it's kind of bringing it back to what you're saying right now. Like salvation is a moment, but the discipleship and the sanctification thing is a process.
Yeah,
and it is, like you said, kind of wringing it out of like stuff of like, you know, 4 years ago, I might have been dealing with different stuff.
Yeah.
But like the process of going through it, it's like just because I had a salvation moment doesn't mean I didn't go through the process of healing or have to go through the process of the discipleship process of wringing things out and, you know, asking God to help me grow in areas.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of times we have this idea of like we got to clean our lives up and then come to God.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, God isn't after your actions or your behavior. He just wants your heart.
And then
if you give him your heart, your behavior will start to change after.
Yeah.
Those things that you desired, you won't desire no more. You won't find yourself finding enjoyment in those things that you did before you gave your heart to him.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not change from the outside in, it's change from the inside out.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, man. Gage, you got any more questions?
I don't think so, man. I feel like I've grown, honestly, from the prayer thing. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of if I had to pick a growth area or area to get better in, I think that would be one for me. But just from listening to you, I think I grew a little bit.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that from you. And I appreciate just the willingness to share your story too, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Anytime, man. I really enjoyed this. I'm glad you guys think I've got something important enough to say to invite me on.
You always do,
tickled, man.
No, it's a blast, and thanks again for your time. Thanks for your story. Thanks for your willingness to share.
Yeah.
And also thank you to anybody who's listening and watching, choosing to grow, choosing to get better, because you could stay the same, or you could make a difference, or you could choose to grow and see how it changes others around you. So like, subscribe, do whatever you want with that. But until next time, keep on getting better.